this special and exclusive interview with the Minister of Performance Monitoring and Evaluation of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Collins Chabane. Mr. Collins, first of all, may we welcome you to the State of Kuwait and thank you for your participation during the 3rd Africa-Arab Summit. First of all, may we start by asking you, how do you evaluate the preparations that have been undertaken by the Kuwaiti government to ensure that this summit is smooth and efficient?
And it's our pleasure to have had the opportunity to participate in this summit. The preparations for the summit, I think, they're on two parts. The first one is the paperwork and the discussions which take place in technical committees, the Committee of Ministers, senior officials, which produce the outcomes. That is the most important thing, because what we're about is what decisions have been made. But secondly, would like to thank the Kuwaiti government, especially the Amir, for the preparations which have been made. The venue was superb, the logistics were fine, everything went very well.
If we can go back to the previous two summits that were held in Egypt and in Libya, could you comment on the outcomes of the previous two summits and how they differ to this 3rd edition right here in the State of Kuwait?
With regard to the Egypt one, I didn't have the opportunity to participate in that one, including the Libyan one. But my understanding is that this summit was supposed to evaluate the program of action which was adopted in CERTI, that what they call 2011, what we call 2011-2016. So we're almost halfway towards 2016, is to look as to whether we have been able to make progress and what are the outstanding issues and what is it that we need to do from here forward. So to do that, we have to do a preparatory work through committees, the Committee of Ministers, senior officials, and I think they did a very good job to do the evaluation and actually prepare for the decision which has to be made in this summit. So that is the value of this summit. It's very important to take us to the next summit, which is in 2016.
Could you also touch upon some of the issues that the Republic of South Africa raised during the summit and its contribution to the draft declaration?
We focus on everything which member states also focus on. But obviously there are quite a number of important issues which we think and we hope that member states are not going to allow them to fall through the cracks or they remain behind. Amongst others is our ability of the two regions to work together on the issue of peace, stability, and post-conflict resolutions. Because without peace and stability, whatever decisions have been made can't be implemented, because you can't implement these decisions when there's war. You can't build infrastructure when somebody is destroying it. So it's important for us to work together to do that, particularly because in these two regions, they are the worst at the moment with regard to political conflict. Most of the deaths which are taking place is in Africa and the Middle East, unfortunately. And these are political conflicts. So we have to stabilize that. We need to find a way to stabilize that. And secondly, to deal with the issue of terrorism, which is affecting the region quite significantly now. Because without that stability, we won't be able to make headway in whatever decisions we have taken. So that becomes very crucial. But we can't wait for peace first before we move, because if we don't move and communities are unemployed, and then there's hunger and there's poverty, communities themselves are likely to rise up. So we need a two-pronged strategy. Try to achieve peace, but at the same time begin to build the building blocks to deal with the challenges which we face. The second one is the agreement on agriculture or food security. The efforts which need to be made to ensure that we have got food security both in the continent of Africa and also in the Middle East. The partnership in that area becomes very critical for us. The third one is the resolution on beneficiation of natural resources. You know that everybody will say Africa is a rising continent, the growth rate is quite fast, but there's an abundance of natural resources in terms of minerals, People are continuing to discover gas and oil and all these things. Those things, we need to partner with our brothers in the Middle East to ensure that we share expertise, we share opportunities, so that we can assist each other in terms of taking the continent forward. So those for us are quite significant and important. Lastly, also at the political level, we need to work together, share ideas, compare notes, so that when we go to multilateral institutions like the United Nations, in all the committees of the United Nations, we go to the G20, at least we move from a common position. We are a South-to-South relationship. We are developing countries. Africa and the Middle East have got a historical link. It's a very important one. More than any other continent, we've got a very direct historical link between the two. And we also share membership. As you know, that some of the states, particularly in North Africa, are part also of the Arab League, the League of Arab States. So we share that part. So these are very important part which we think will form the foundation for us to be able to move forward.
Finally, if we could discuss the relationship between the State of Kuwait and the Republic of South Africa, especially considering coming to light the developments that have happened across the African continent over the past 2 years, as well as considering the role of Kuwait Fund for Arab and Economic Development in assisting African countries, as well as other charitable organizations. Could you comment on this role between the two countries, considering those 2 points?
The relationship between the State of Kuwait and the Republic of South Africa, they're very good, they're very cordial, and very important for us. As you know, that we have got embassies on both countries. We have got investments on both sides, and hopefully we're going to increase them. There are quite a number of Kuwaiti companies which have got investment in South Africa itself, and it's our hope that South African companies will find space also to invest in Kuwait, so that we can build more that relationship. There are more and more Kuwaiti nationals who come to South Africa for tourism. It's a very good tourism destination. If you feel tired, you can come and relax. We have got all weather you need at every given time of the year. It's a very important destination on a tourism basis. And we hope that with this strengthening of this multinational relationship at the level of the summit of the Africa-Arab relationship, we think member states will then use that as a framework for them to be able to plug in. Now that there are decisions which have been made, I think it's important for South Africa and Kuwait to look at them and see how we are going to move forward to implement within the context of the bilateral relations. And we hope that South African companies, private sector companies, will be able to come here to do investments. And we hope more and more Kuwaiti companies will come there to do investments.
During your visit, aside from the summit, did your agenda include meeting with other officials here in the State of Kuwait, or did it include other ways to promote or strengthen bilateral relations?
We had quite a number of discussions with my counterparts and colleagues here in Kuwait with regard to what we think should be, but those are informal discussions basically, because it was more of a busy schedule. As we meet here as in a lot of states, we take the opportunity to try and meet and do other things. We meet people from Eritrea, we meet people from Iraq, people from Iran, and then people from Burundi, meet people from West Africa. So we try to utilize this opportunity to exchange notes, to discuss some of the things. So it becomes much of a hectic. The Kuwaiti one need a focused approach from our side as South Africa, and I hope it will be the same thing here. So we need to do a lot of follow-ups arising out of the summit engagements.